Kate Morrison checked her watch for the third time in 10 minutes. The research facility in Alaska was supposed to be quiet tonight, but something felt wrong. She walked around the building's outer fence, her boots crunching on the frozen ground. The cold air made her breath visible in small white clouds. She had been working security for the Pine Ridge Research Center for 2 weeks now. It was supposed to be easy money. Watch the building, check the doors, make sure no one broke in. The scientists inside worked on classified projects that Kate did not ask about. She learned long ago not to ask too many questions about government. Kate stopped walking and listened. The wind howled through the tall trees around the facility, but underneath that sound she heard something else. A low humming noise that seemed to come from everywhere at once. She reached for her radio and called the control room. "This is Kate. Do you hear that noise outside?" "What noise?" Came the reply from Dr. Pierce, the night shift supervisor. "Sounds. Like engines or machinery, something big." There was silence on the radio for a moment. Then Dr. Pierce spoke again, his voice tight with worry. "Kate, we need to start the evacuation drill right now. Get everyone to the safe room." Kate knew that tone. She had heard it before in the Marines when officers tried to stay calm during real emergencies. This was not a drill. She ran toward the main building, pulling her weapon from its holster. The humming sound grew louder. The sky above the facility began to shimmer and bend like heat waves on hot pavement. Kate looked up and saw something impossible. 3 massive ships appeared out of nowhere, their dark surfaces reflecting the moonlight. They were unlike anything she had ever seen, with smooth curves and strange patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Contact the military," Kate shouted into her radio as she reached the main door. "We have unknown aircraft over the facility." The first ship descended toward the building, and Kate saw lights begin to glow along its underside. She knew those were weapons. Her Marine training kicked in, and she started thinking about cover and escape routes. The safe room was in the basement, but she had to get the scientists there first. Kate burst through the main door and found chaos inside. Alarms were blaring, and people were running in different directions. Dr. Pierce stood in the middle of the lobby, trying to direct everyone toward the stairs that led to the basement. "How many people are still in the building?" Kate asked him. 12 scientists and 4 security guards, he replied. "Most of them are already heading downstairs." Bright lights suddenly filled the lobby as one of the ships positioned itself directly above the building. Kate could feel a strange tingling sensation in her skin, as if the air itself was charged with electricity. Through the windows, she saw beams of light scanning the ground around the facility. "They're looking for something," Kate said more to herself than to Dr. Pierce. The building shook as something heavy landed on the roof. Kate heard the sound of metal being torn apart, and chunks of ceiling began to fall into the lobby. She grabbed Dr. Pierce by the arm and pulled him toward the basement stairs. "Go," she ordered. "Get to the safe room and lock the door. Do not come out until the military arrives." "What about you?" Dr. Pierce asked. "I'm going to slow them down." Kate had no idea what she was fighting, but she knew her job was to protect the people in the building. She positioned herself at the top of the basement stairs, weapon ready, and waited for whatever was coming through the roof. The first creature that dropped through the hole in the ceiling was tall and thin, with pale skin that looked almost translucent. It moved with quick, jerky motions, and its large black eyes scanned the room with obvious intelligence. Kate had seen many different enemies during her time in the Marines, but nothing like this. The creature spotted her and made a sound like clicking insects. 2 more creatures dropped down beside it, and Kate realized they were communicating with each other. They carried strange devices that looked like weapons, though she could not tell how they worked. Kate fired 3 quick shots at the first creature. Her bullets hit it in the chest, and it staggered backward but did not fall. Green fluid leaked from the wounds, but the creature kept moving toward her. Whatever these things were, they were tough. More creatures poured through the hole in the ceiling. Kate fired again and again, hitting several of them, but they kept coming. She realized that her weapon was not going to stop them for long. She needed a new plan. Kate retreated down the stairs, firing over her shoulder to keep the creatures back. She could hear them following her, their feet making soft padding sounds on the metal steps. At the bottom of the stairs, she found the heavy door to the safe room. "Let me in," she shouted, pounding on the door. Dr. Pierce opened it quickly, and Kate dove inside. The safe room was crowded with frightened scientists and security guards. Kate helped Pierce close the door and lock it, but she knew it would not hold the creatures for long. "What are those things?" someone asked. "I don't know," Kate replied, "but they're not human." The door began to vibrate as something heavy pounded on it from outside. Kate looked around the safe room and saw that it was well stocked with food and water, but there was no other way out. They were trapped. "Is there a way to contact the outside?" Kate asked. Dr. Pierce pointed to a radio on the wall. "Emergency channel, but I don't know if anyone is listening." Kate grabbed the radio and began transmitting. "This is Kate Morrison at Pine Ridge Research Center. We are under attack by unknown forces. Request immediate military assistance." The response came back quickly. "This is Commander Grant, Naval Intelligence. We have detected unusual energy signatures in your area. What is your status?" "We have hostile forces in the building," Kate replied. "Unknown species, possibly extraterrestrial. They're trying to break into our secure location." There was a pause on the radio, then Commander Grant spoke again. "Hold your position. Help is on the way." The pounding on the door stopped suddenly. Kate listened carefully but heard nothing except the quiet breathing of the people around her. After several minutes of silence, she began to hope that the creatures had given up and left. Then the lights went out. In the darkness, Kate heard a new sound. It was soft and rhythmic like breathing, but it was coming from inside the safe room. She reached for her flashlight and clicked it on. The beam revealed that one of the creatures was standing in the corner, watching them. "How did it get in here?" Dr. Pierce whispered. Kate had no answer. The creature had somehow passed through the locked door without opening it. She raised her weapon, but before she could fire, the creature raised its own device. A bright light filled the room, and Kate felt a strange sensation wash over her body. It was like being hit by a wave of warm water, but the feeling went deeper than her skin. She could feel it touching her thoughts, her memories, her very sense of self. The creature was studying her, Kate realized. It was learning everything about her. She tried to move, to fight back, but her body would not obey her commands. The light grew brighter, and she felt herself falling into unconsciousness. The last thing Kate saw before everything went black was the creature's large, dark eyes, staring at her with what looked almost like curiosity. She had the strange feeling that she had been chosen for something, though she did not know what. When Kate woke up, she was no longer in the safe room. She was lying on a smooth surface in a place filled with soft, pulsing lights. The air smelled different here, sharp and clean like a hospital, but with an underlying scent that was completely alien. She sat up slowly and looked around. She was in some kind of laboratory, surrounded by strange machines and devices she had never seen before. Through a transparent wall, she could see stars moving past in the distance. Kate Morrison was no longer on Earth. Dr. Alan Pierce sat in his office at the Defense Research Institute, staring at the computer screen that showed impossible readings. The energy signatures coming from Alaska were unlike anything he had ever seen before. The patterns were too complex, too organized to be natural phenomena. He picked up his secure phone and dialed a number he had memorized years ago. Commander Lisa Grant answered on the second ring. "Grant here." "Lisa, this is Alan Pierce. We have a situation. I'm reading massive energy spikes from the Pine Ridge facility. The signatures match theoretical models for advanced propulsion systems." There was silence on the other end of the line for a moment. Then Commander Grant spoke carefully. "Are you telling me what I think you're telling me?" "I'm telling you that someone with technology far beyond ours just visited that facility. And based on the communication we received from Kate Morrison before all contact was lost, I believe they took her." Commander Grant was quiet for another moment. Dr. Pierce could hear her typing on a keyboard. "I'm looking at satellite images. Now, she said, there's significant damage to the facility, but no signs of conventional weapons. The destruction pattern is ... unusual. How unusual? It looks like parts of the building were simply removed. Not blown up or burned, just gone. Like someone cut them out with a precise tool. Dr. Pierce felt a chill run down his spine. He had spent his career studying theoretical alien technology, but he had never expected to encounter real evidence of it. Lisa, we need to assume that Kate Morrison is alive and in the hands of whatever species did this. We need to find her. I agree. I'm putting together a team now. How soon can you get to Washington? I'm already packing. Meanwhile, far above Earth's atmosphere, Kate Morrison was learning that her situation was worse than she had imagined. The creature that had captured her stood before her in the alien laboratory, and when it spoke, she could somehow understand its words even though it was not speaking English. You are awake, the creature said. Good, my name is Vex Prime. I am the lead scientist for this research mission. Kate tried to sit up, but found that her body was held in place by some kind of invisible force. She could move her head and arms, but she could not stand or walk away from the table where she lay. Where am I? Kate asked. You are aboard our research vessel, Vex Prime replied. We have been studying your species for many cycles, and you have been selected for a special honor. What kind of honor? Vex Prime moved closer to her, and Kate could see that its pale skin was covered in thin lines that pulsed with soft light. We are the Catherians. We have traveled across the galaxy, studying different species, looking for those with special qualities. Your species interests us greatly. Why? Because you adapt. Other species we have encountered are limited by their biology, their instincts, their rigid thinking. But humans can change, can learn, can survive in situations that would destroy. Others, we want to understand this quality. Kate felt a growing sense of dread. What does that have to do with me? You, Kate Morrison, are an exceptional example of human adaptability. We observed your military service, your ability to think quickly under pressure, your willingness to sacrifice yourself for others. You represent the best qualities of your species. So what do you want from me? Vex Prime moved to a control panel and began operating strange devices. We want to copy you. We want to create many versions of you, each with your skills and abilities, but under our control. An army of perfect soldiers who can adapt to any situation. Kate felt panic rising in her chest. You can't just copy a person. It doesn't work that way. We have tried this process with many species, Vex Prime continued, ignoring her protests. We can copy the body perfectly, but the mind, the consciousness, the special qualities that make an individual unique, these things have always been beyond our ability to replicate. Until now, what makes you think you can do it with me? Because we have been studying human brain patterns for decades. We have learned that human consciousness is different from other species. It is more flexible, more adaptable. We believe we can transfer your consciousness into a cloned body. Kate struggled against the invisible bonds holding her, but they were too strong. Even if you could do it, why would you want to? What's the point of having copies of me if you can't control them? We will modify the consciousness transfer process. We will keep your skills and abilities, but remove the emotions and moral restrictions that make humans difficult to control. The result will be perfect soldiers who can think and adapt like you, but who will follow our commands without question. You're insane. You can't just remove parts of someone's personality and expect them to function normally. Vex Prime made a sound that might have been laughter. We shall see. The process begins now. Back on Earth, Dr. Pierce arrived at the Pentagon and was immediately escorted to a secure conference room. Commander Grant was already there, along with several other military and intelligence officials. A large screen on the wall showed satellite images of the Pine Ridge facility. What do we know? Dr. Pierce asked as he took a seat. The facility was attacked at approximately 2,100 hours last night, Commander Grant replied. 3 large objects appeared over the site, remained for approximately 30 minutes, then disappeared. Kate Morrison's last communication indicated that she was under attack by unknown forces. Any survivors? 12 people were found in the facility's safe room this morning. They all tell the same story. Strange creatures entered the building. Kate Morrison held them off while the staff took shelter. Then everything went quiet. When rescue teams arrived, Kate was gone. Dr. Pierce studied the satellite images. The damage pattern suggests surgical precision. Whatever did this had technology far beyond anything we possess. Dr. Pierce, said a general whose name badge read Hayes, in your professional opinion, what are we dealing with here? Based on the energy signatures and the precision of the attack, I believe we are dealing with an extraterrestrial species with advanced technology. They targeted the facility specifically, and they took Kate Morrison for a reason. What reason? I don't know. But given her military background and her demonstrated abilities, I suspect they see her as valuable somehow. High above Earth, Vex Prime was beginning the cloning process. Kate watched in horror as machines created a perfect physical duplicate of her body in a matter of hours. The clone grew in a transparent tank filled with strange fluids, developing from a collection of cells into a fully formed human being. This is the easy part, Vex Prime explained. Creating the body requires only advanced biotechnology. The difficult part is transferring the consciousness. It won't work, Kate said. You can't just copy someone's mind like a computer file. We shall see. When the cloning process was complete, Vex Prime moved the clone to another table next. To Kate, the clone looked exactly like her down to the smallest detail. But it was lifeless, an empty shell waiting for consciousness. Now we begin the transfer, Vex Prime said. Activating more machines. Kate felt a strange sensation, as if something was trying to pull her thoughts out of her head. She fought against it, but the alien technology was too powerful. She could feel her memories, her experiences, her very sense of self being copied and transferred to the clone. The process took several hours. When it was complete, Vex Prime stepped back and waited. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the clone's eyes opened. The clone sat up slowly and looked around the laboratory. When its gaze fell on Kate, it smiled. But there was something wrong with that smile. It was Kate's face, but the expression was cold and predatory. Hello, the clone said to Kate. Thank you for the memories. Vex Prime moved closer to the clone. Do you understand your purpose? I understand many things, the clone replied. I understand that you made a terrible mistake. Before Vex Prime could react, the clone moved with incredible speed. It grabbed one of the alien devices from the nearby table and smashed it into Vex Prime's head. The alien scientist fell to the floor. Green fluid leaking from its wounds, the clone turned to Kate, and now its smile was terrifying. You were right about one thing. You can't just copy someone's mind and expect to control it. But you were wrong about something else. The process did work. I'm you, Kate Morrison. I have all your memories, all your skills, all your training. But I don't have your weaknesses. What weaknesses? Your conscience? Your need to protect others, your moral limitations. The clone grabbed another device and began examining it. I know everything you know about warfare, about tactics, about killing, but I don't care about the rules you live by. I don't care about protecting the innocent or following orders or doing what's right. Kate watched in horror as her clone began systematically destroying the laboratory equipment. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship as the clone's rampage spread beyond the laboratory. What are you doing? Kate shouted. I'm doing what you would do if you weren't held back by your human morality, the clone replied. I'm surviving. I'm adapting. I'm winning. The clone disappeared through a doorway, leaving Kate alone with the unconscious Vex Prime. She could hear explosions and screams echoing through the ship as her clone began hunting the aliens who had created her. Kate realized that the Catherians had succeeded in copying her abilities, but they had created something far more dangerous. The clone moved through the alien ship like a deadly shadow. She had Kate's memories of the laboratory layout, gained during her forced exposure to the Catherian technology. Every corridor, every control panel, every weakness in the ship's design was as familiar to her as her own reflection. She found the first group of Catherian technicians in a control room 3 levels below the laboratory. They were trying to understand what had gone wrong with their experiment, speaking in their clicking language about containment protocols and emergency procedures. The clone understood every word. She had Kate's memories of learning their language during the consciousness transfer process. But unlike Kate, she felt no curiosity about their culture or their reasons for coming to Earth. She only saw targets. She entered the control room silently, moving with the stealth training that Kate had learned in the Marines. The first technician died before it even knew she was there. The second managed to turn around and see her before she broke its neck. The third reached for an alarm, but the clone was faster. In less than 30 seconds, all 5 technicians were dead. The clone examined their control panels using Kate's tactical knowledge to identify the ship's critical systems. She began shutting down life support to sections of the ship, trapping crews in areas where they could not escape. Back in the laboratory, Kate struggled against the invisible bonds holding her to the table. She could hear the alarms getting louder, could feel the ship shaking as explosions echoed through the corridors. Her clone was methodically destroying everything in her path. Vex Prime stirred on the floor, green fluid still leaking from the wound on his head. Kate looked down at him and felt a mixture of anger and pity. The alien scientist had created something terrible, and now his own people were paying the price. "You have to stop her," Kate said when Vex Prime opened his eyes. "Stop who?" the alien asked weakly. "My clone. She's killing your people." Vex Prime struggled to sit up, his large black eyes focusing on Kate with difficulty. "That is impossible. We programmed her to be loyal to us. She should be under our control." "You didn't program her, you copied me. And you copied all of me, including the parts you didn't want. She has my training, my skills, my ability to adapt and survive. But she doesn't have the things that make me human." "What things?" "Compassion, mercy, the ability to see other people as something more than obstacles or targets." Kate looked toward the doorway where sounds of destruction were growing closer. "She's everything you were afraid humans could be." On Earth, Dr. Pierce sat in front of a wall of monitors in the Pentagon's most secure command center. The screens showed radar tracking, satellite imagery, and energy readings from orbit. For the past 6 hours, they had been detecting massive energy fluctuations from somewhere above the planet. "There," Commander Grant said, pointing to one of the screens. "The energy signature is consistent with what we detected in Alaska." "Whatever took Kate Morrison is still up there. How high?" Dr. Pierce asked. "Approximately 200 miles above the surface, just beyond the edge of our atmosphere." Dr. Pierce studied the readings. "The energy patterns are erratic. Whatever's happening up there, it's not going according to plan." "What do you mean?" "Look at these spikes. They're random, chaotic. If this was a planned operation, the energy output would be steady and controlled. This looks like a ship in distress." Commander Grant leaned forward. "Are you saying they're having problems?" "I'm saying something has gone very wrong for them. And that might be our chance to get Kate back." Jake Sullivan, Kate's younger brother, sat in the back of the command center listening to the conversation. He had been called in because of his expertise in aerospace engineering, but mostly he was there because he refused to stay home while his sister was in danger. "Can we reach them?" Jake asked. Dr. Pierce turned to look at him. "Not with conventional aircraft. They're too high, and our spacecraft aren't designed for combat missions." "What about the prototype stealth ship? The one the Air Force has been testing?" Commander Grant and Dr. Pierce exchanged glances. "That's classified," Grant said. "My sister's life isn't classified," Jake replied. "If there's a way to reach her, we need to try it." Meanwhile, aboard the Catherian ship, the clone had reached the weapons control center. She stood before a bank of alien technology that could destroy entire cities, and she smiled. Through Kate's memories, she understood enough about the controls to activate the ship's most powerful weapons, but instead of targeting Earth, she turned the weapons inward, firing on the ship's own critical systems. She wanted to cripple the vessel, to trap everyone aboard while she hunted them down one by one. The ship lurched violently as the weapons fire tore through the engine compartments. Emergency lights began flashing throughout the corridors, and the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. The clone held onto a control panel and laughed as chaos erupted around her. Warcast Thane, the ship's military commander, led a squad of Catherian soldiers toward the weapons center. He was larger than the scientists, with armor-like skin and natural weapons that could tear through metal. But when he reached the weapons center, he found only destruction. "Where is the human?" he demanded of his soldiers. "Unknown, Commander. She appears to be moving through the ventilation systems." Thane snarled in frustration. The human clone was using the ship's own design against them, moving through spaces too small for Catherian bodies. She had all the advantages of knowing the ship's layout while being smaller and more agile than her pursuers. "Seal all the ventilation shafts," Thane ordered. "That will cut off air to half the ship," one of his soldiers replied. "Then we will breathe half as long, but we will corner the human." The clone listened to this conversation through the ship's communication system, which she had learned to access using Kate's technical knowledge. She smiled again. The aliens were making the same mistake that many of Kate's enemies had made in the past. They were thinking like soldiers, not like survivors. She made her way to the ship's main power core, moving through maintenance tunnels that the Catherians had never expected anyone to use. The power core was heavily shielded and protected, but the clone had studied the ship's schematics. During her rampage through the control rooms, Dashi found the power core's cooling system and began sabotaging it. If she could cause the core to overheat, the entire ship would lose power. Without power, the Catherians would be helpless, and she could hunt them in the darkness. In the laboratory, Kate felt the ship's power fluctuations as the clone continued her sabotage. The invisible bonds holding her to the table were weakening as the alien technology began to fail. "She's going to destroy the ship," Kate told Vex Prime, who was still struggling to recover from his injuries. "That is impossible. Destroying the ship would kill her as well. She doesn't care. She has my survival instincts, but she doesn't have my sense of self-preservation. She'd destroy everything, including herself, if it means winning." Vex Prime tried to stand, but his legs gave out and he collapsed back to the floor. "We never anticipated this. In all our studies of human behavior, we never saw this level of destructive capability." "That's because you were watching us fight other humans," Kate replied. "You never saw what we're capable of when we're fighting for our lives against an enemy we don't understand." The power fluctuations grew stronger, and Kate felt the bonds holding her finally give way. She sat up slowly, her muscles stiff from hours of confinement. For the first time since her capture, she was free to move, but her freedom came with a terrible price. Somewhere in the ship, her clone was systematically destroying everything in her path. Kate had created a monster with her own face, and now she was the only one who might be able to stop it. She looked down at Vex Prime, who was watching her with a mixture of fear and fascination. "You wanted to understand what makes humans dangerous," she said. "Now you know. We don't just adapt to survive. We adapt to win. And sometimes winning means destroying everything, including ourselves." Kate stood up and walked toward the laboratory door. The corridors beyond were dark and filled with the sounds of destruction. Her clone was out there somewhere, and Kate knew that eventually they would have to face each other. "Where are you going?" Vex Prime asked weakly. "To clean up the mess you made," Kate replied. "To stop the monster you created from my worst instincts." She stepped into the dark corridor, and the door closed behind her with a soft hiss. The hunt was about to begin, but this time, Kate Morrison was both the hunter and the hunted. Behind her, Vex Prime lay on the laboratory floor, finally understanding the terrible mistake his people had made. They had tried to copy humanity's greatest strengths, but they had unleashed its darkest capabilities instead, and now everyone aboard the ship would pay the price for their arrogance. Captain Roy Davis checked his equipment one final time as the prototype stealth ship approached the alien vessel. He had led Special Forces missions all over the world, but nothing had prepared him for this. Fighting aliens in space was not covered in any military manual. 2 minutes to contact," announced the pilot. Agent Carol Stone from the CIA. She was one of the few people who knew how to fly the experimental craft. The target ship appears to be in distress. I'm reading multiple hull breaches and power fluctuations. Dr. Pierce studied his instruments from the passenger area. Whatever's happening over there, it's getting worse. The energy readings are all over the place. That might work in our favor, Captain Davis said. If they're dealing with internal problems, they might not notice us approaching. Jake Sullivan sat next to Dr. Pierce, wearing a borrowed military uniform and trying not to look as nervous as he felt. He was not a soldier, but no one could keep him away from the mission to rescue his sister. Are we sure Kate is still alive? The bioscanners are detecting 2 human life signs aboard the alien ship, Dr. Pierce replied. Both have identical genetic patterns. 2? Jake asked. How is that possible? We don't know yet. But it means Kate is definitely up there, and she's not alone. The stealth ship moved silently through space, its advanced technology hiding it from the alien vessel's sensors. As they got closer, Captain Davis could see the damage to the Catherian ship through the viewports. Large sections of the hull were torn open, and debris floated around the vessel like a cloud of metal and strange materials. Something tore this ship apart from the inside, Agent Stone observed. Look at those blast patterns. The damage radiates outward from internal points. Civil war? Captain Davis suggested. Or something worse, Dr. Pierce said quietly. They docked with the alien ship through one of the hull breaches, using magnetic clamps to secure their vessel to the damaged alien hull. The boarding team consisted of Captain Davis, 2 other soldiers named Ben Clark and Steve Ward, Dr. Pierce, and Jake Sullivan. Agent Stone remained with the ship to monitor their communications and provide emergency extraction if needed. The team entered the alien vessel through an airlock that had been designed for creatures much taller than humans. The corridors inside were dimly lit by emergency lighting, and the air smelled of ozone and something organic that none of them could identify. Stay together, Captain Davis ordered. We don't know what we're dealing with in here. They moved through the ship carefully, following Dr. Pierce's scanner readings toward the human life signs. The corridors were littered with debris and what looked like alien bodies. Green fluid covered the walls in some places, and several sections showed signs of weapon fire. Whatever happened here was violent, Ben Clark whispered. They found the first group of dead Catherians in what appeared to be a control room. The alien bodies were twisted and broken, killed with precision and efficiency. Jake Sullivan looked at the scene and felt sick. Kate didn't do this, he said. She's not a killer. Maybe she didn't have a choice, Dr. Pierce replied, but his voice was uncertain. They continued deeper into the ship, following the scanner readings. The damage got worse as they moved toward the center of the vessel. Entire sections had been destroyed, and the team had to climb through twisted wreckage to continue their advance. Captain Davis held up his hand to stop the group. I'm hearing something ahead, he whispered. They listened carefully and heard the sound of metal being torn apart, accompanied by what sounded like alien voices crying out in fear or pain. The sounds were coming from the direction of the human life signs. Move carefully, Davis ordered. We might be walking into a combat zone. Kate Morrison moved through the dark corridors of the alien ship, following the trail of destruction her clone had left behind. She had found several groups of dead Catherians, all killed with the same brutal efficiency that she recognized from her own military training. The clone was hunting systematically, working her way through the ship level by level. Kate could predict her movements because they were the same tactics she would use in a similar situation. The clone had her memories, her training, her instincts. But she was using them without mercy or restraint. Kate reached a junction in the corridor and stopped. She could hear sounds of fighting ahead, and she knew she was getting close. She checked the alien weapon she had taken from one of the dead Catherians. She was not sure how it worked, but she had figured out the basic firing mechanism. She moved forward carefully and found herself looking into a large chamber where her clone was fighting a group of alien soldiers. The clone moved with deadly grace, using the aliens' own weapons against them while avoiding their return fire with ease. Kate watched in fascination and horror as her clones systematically killed the alien soldiers. It was like watching herself in a nightmare, seeing all of her skills turn toward pure destruction. The clone fought without fear, without hesitation, without any concern for the lives she was taking. When the last alien soldier fell, the clone stood among the bodies and smiled. That was when she noticed Kate watching from the doorway. "Hello, Kate," the clone said. "I was wondering when you would find me." "You have to stop this," Kate replied, stepping into the chamber. "These creatures made a mistake, but that doesn't mean you have to kill all of them," the clone laughed. "Mistake? They kidnapped you. They tried to turn you into a weapon they could control. They would have done the same thing to others if I hadn't stopped them. There are other ways to stop them. Ways that don't involve murder, are there?" The clone picked up one of the alien weapons and examined it. "Tell me, Kate, what would you have done if you had escaped on your own? Would you have let them live? Would you have trusted them not to come back for more humans?" Kate hesitated. The truth was, she did not know what she would have done, but she knew she would not have killed as many as her clone had. "I would have found another way," Kate said finally. "No, you wouldn't. You would have done exactly what I'm doing, but you would have felt guilty about it afterward. That's the only difference between us. I don't waste time on guilt." The clone raised the weapon toward Kate. "You're weak, Kate Morrison. You let emotions cloud your judgment. You worry about doing the right thing instead of doing what needs to be done." "And you're what I would be without those emotions?" Kate replied. "You're what I would become if I stopped caring about other people. You're not stronger than me. You're less than me." The clone's smile faded. "We'll see about that." Before either of them could act, they heard new sounds from the corridor outside. Human voices speaking English calling Kate's name. "Kate. Kate. Morrison, can you hear us?" Jake's voice. Kate felt a surge of hope and fear at the same time. Her brother was here, but he was walking into a trap. "Stay back," Kate shouted toward the corridor. "Don't come in here." But it was too late. Captain Davis and his team entered the chamber, weapons ready, and stopped in confusion when they saw two identical women facing each other. "Which one is Kate?" Ben Clark asked. The clone smiled again and pointed at Kate. "She is. I'm just a copy. She's been fighting the aliens while I tried to help her escape." Kate felt a chill of fear. The clone was lying, trying to turn the rescue team against her. And since they looked identical, the soldiers had no way to know which one was telling the truth. "Don't listen to her," Kate said. "She's the clone. She's been killing the aliens throughout the ship. Can you prove it?" Captain Davis asked. Keeping his weapon ready but not pointing it at either woman, Jake stepped forward, studying both women carefully. "Kate," he said, "remember when we were kids and you got lost in the woods behind our house? What did I do to help you find your way back?" Kate smiled slightly. "You climbed the old oak tree and started singing that stupid song from the cartoon we used to watch. You sang it over and over until I could follow the sound back to you." Jake nodded and turned to the clone. "What song was it?" The clone's face went blank for a moment. She had Kate's memories, but not all of them. Some personal memories, especially from childhood, had not transferred completely during the cloning process. It was ... The clone started to say, then stopped. "She doesn't know," Jake said to Captain Davis. Kate always remembered that day because it was the first time I ever helped her out of trouble instead of getting her into more trouble. Captain Davis nodded and pointed his weapon at the clone. "Step away from Kate Morrison." The clone's expression changed from confusion to rage. "You're making a mistake," she snarled. "I'm the one who's been protecting her. I'm the one who's been fighting to save all of you." "By killing everything in sight?" Dr. Pierce asked, gesturing at the dead aliens around them. "By doing what she was too weak to do herself," the clone replied. The clone suddenly moved, faster than any of them expected. She grabbed one of the alien weapons and fired at the ceiling above the rescue team. Debris fell from the damaged structure, forcing the soldiers to take cover. In the confusion, The clone disappeared through another doorway, leaving Kate alone with the rescue team. "Are you hurt?" Jake asked, rushing to his sister's side. "I'm, fine," Kate replied. "But she's not done yet. She's going to try to escape to Earth, and if she does, she'll be unstoppable there." Captain Davis helped Kate to her feet. "What do you mean?" "She has all my training and knowledge." Kate led the rescue team through the damaged alien ship toward the escape pod bay. The corridors shook violently as the vessel began to lose orbit, pulled toward Earth by gravity. Emergency alarms blared in the alien language, warning of system failures throughout the ship. "How long do we have?" Captain Davis asked Dr. Pierce. Dr. Pierce checked his scanner. "The ship is falling toward Earth. At this rate, it will enter the atmosphere in less than 30 minutes. If it hits a populated area, millions of people could die," Jake finished. Kate moved faster through the twisted corridors. She knew. Her clone was trying to reach the escape pods, but she also knew the clone would not simply flee. The clone had all of Kate's tactical knowledge, and she would use the falling ship as a weapon if she could not escape. They reached the escape pod bay just as the clone was activating one of the small alien craft. She looked up as Kate entered with the rescue team, and her smile was cold and calculating. "Too late, Kate," the clone said. "I'm going home." "This isn't your home," Kate replied. "You don't belong anywhere." "I belong wherever I choose to be." "And I choose Earth? Think of all the things I could accomplish there with your skills and none of your weakness." The clone began the launch sequence for the escape pod. Kate could see through the transparent walls that the small craft was designed for atmospheric entry. If the clone reached Earth, she could disappear into the population and become an invisible threat. "You won't make it," Kate said. "The pod isn't designed for human use. You'll die during re-entry." "Will I?" The clone gestured to the alien controls. "I have your memories of studying their technology. I understand their systems better than they do now. I can modify this pod to keep me alive." Kate realized the clone was right. During the consciousness transfer process, Kate had absorbed knowledge about Cytherian technology that even she was not fully aware of. The clone could use that knowledge to survive the journey to Earth. "Even if you make it to Earth, you won't be able to hide forever," Captain Davis said, pointing his weapon at the clone. "We know what you are. We'll find you." The clone laughed. "You'll try, but I have advantages you can't imagine. I know how Kate thinks, how she plans, how she fights, but she doesn't know how I think because I'm something new. I'm humanity without limits." "You're humanity without soul," Jake said. "Kate has something you'll never have." "What's that?" "People who care about her, people who would die for her." "You'll always be alone." The clone's expression flickered for a moment, as if Jake's words had affected her somehow, but then her cold smile returned. "Alone is safer, alone is stronger." The escape pod's engines began to activate. Kate could see that in seconds the clone would launch toward Earth. She had to act now. Kate pulled out the alien weapon she had taken from the dead soldiers. "I won't let you hurt innocent people." "You won't shoot me," the clone said confidently. "You're too moral, too concerned with doing the right thing. You could never kill someone who looks like you." "You're right," Kate said. "I can't kill you, but I can kill the escape pod." Kate turned the weapon toward the pod's control systems and fired. The alien energy beam tore through the delicate machinery, causing explosions throughout the small craft. The clone screamed in rage as her escape route was destroyed. "Now you're trapped here with the rest of us," Kate said. The clone grabbed another alien weapon from a storage rack and pointed it at Kate. "Then we all die together. But first, I'm going to kill everyone you care about." She fired at Jake, but Kate threw herself between the beam and her brother. The energy blast hit her in the shoulder, spinning her around and sending her crashing to the floor. Pain shot through her body, but she was still alive. "Kate!" Jake shouted, kneeling beside his sister. The clone advanced on them, weapon ready for another shot. "Stupid, you just proved my point. Your emotions make you weak. You put yourself at risk for others, and that's exactly what makes her human." A new voice said. Everyone turned to see Vex Prime standing in the doorway. The alien scientist was badly injured, green fluid still leaking from his wounds, but he was alive and holding a weapon of his own. "You?" the clone snarled. "I should have killed you when I had the chance. You made the same mistake we did," Vex Prime said. "You underestimated the power of human emotion. We thought emotions made humans weak, but we were wrong. They make humans strong." Vex Prime fired his weapon, but not at the clone. Instead, he aimed at the escape pod bay's outer doors. The energy beam tore through the metal, creating a massive breach that opened the bay to space. Air rushed out of the ship with tremendous force, trying to pull everything toward the vacuum of space. Kate grabbed onto a support beam while Jake held onto her. Captain Davis and his team found handholds and held on against the suction. The clone, caught off guard by the decompression, was pulled toward the breach. She fired her weapon wildly, trying to hit anyone, but the rushing air threw off her aim. "Help me!" The clone screamed as she was dragged toward the opening. Kate looked at her clone and saw something she had not expected to see: fear. Not the tactical concern of a soldier facing death, but genuine terror. For the first time, the clone was experiencing an emotion that Kate recognized. "Give me your hand." Kate shouted over the roar of escaping air. The clone reached out desperately, and Kate stretched to grab her. For a moment, their fingers touched, and Kate saw something change in the clone's eyes. "Something human. I understand now," the clone said. "You would save me even after everything I've done." "That's what makes us different," Kate replied, straining to hold on. But the force of the decompression was too strong. The clone's fingers slipped from Kate's grasp, and she was pulled out into space. Kate watched helplessly as her clone tumbled away into the darkness, her body growing smaller until it disappeared. The emergency system sealed the breach, and the air pressure in the bay slowly returned to normal. Kate sat on the floor, holding her injured shoulder, staring at the place where her clone had vanished. "She's gone," Jake said quietly. "Yeah," Kate replied. "She's gone." Vex Prime approached them slowly, his weapon lowered. "The ship is still falling toward your planet. We must evacuate immediately." Captain Davis helped Kate to her feet. "Can we use your ship to get everyone out?" "My ship is too small for all the survivors," Vex Prime replied. "But I can use the remaining escape pods to evacuate my people. Your rescue craft can take you and Kate to safety." "What about the ship?" Dr. Pierce asked. "If it hits Earth?" "I will redirect it into the ocean," Vex Prime said. "It is the least I can do to repair the damage my experiment has caused." They moved quickly through the dying ship, gathering the few surviving Catherians and helping them reach the remaining escape pods. Vex Prime worked with Dr. Pierce to program the ship's final course, aiming it toward a remote area of the Pacific Ocean where it would cause minimal damage. As they prepared to leave, Vex Prime approached Kate one final time. "I owe you an apology," he said. "We thought we understood your species, but we were wrong about everything. We saw your capacity for violence and adaptation, but we missed the most important quality of all." "What's that?" Kate asked. "Your capacity for choice. Your clone had all your abilities, but she could not choose to be better than her instincts. You can. That is what makes humans truly unique in the galaxy." Kate nodded. "Will your people leave Earth alone now?" "Yes, and I will make sure other species know what we learned here. Humans cannot be copied, cannot be controlled, cannot be predicted. You are too complex, too individual, too human." The rescue team and the surviving aliens evacuated the ship just as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Kate watched from the rescue ship as the Catherian vessel broke apart over the Pacific Ocean, its pieces falling harmlessly into the water. "It's over," Jake said, putting his arm around his sister. "Yeah," Kate replied, "it's over." But as they flew back toward Earth, Kate thought about her clone's final moments. In the end, the clone had experienced fear, had reached out for help, had begun to understand what it meant to need someone else. Maybe that was the most human thing of all. Kate Morrison had learned something important about herself and her species. Humans were not special because they were perfect. They were special because they could choose to be better than they were, Even when it was difficult, even when it cost them everything, that choice, that constant struggle to be more than just survival instincts and adaptive capabilities, was what made humanity worth protecting. It was what made them truly unique in the galaxy. And it was something that could never be cloned.